And now it's time for another St. Louis 7, following an episode with Paul Schankman on OT with Oliver, wherever you get your podcast. Before we get started, let's plug the new doc.
House of Thunder.
And as discussed on the podcast, this is one of those huge events that happened in St. Louis that very few people know about. And when they find out about it, I think they're going to get a little civic pride on how St. Louis beat down the British.
They did, and it was a great coalition of people of all backgrounds and faiths, and you could learn a lot from from those days back then, who came together and coalesced and beat the British.
All right. Got to check it out. St. Louis 7, question number 1, we always ask, you went to Parkway Central, what do you remember?
I remember mostly being in the plays that from drama class. We never did any musicals, which is probably good because I couldn't sing. I'm not sure why we didn't, actually. We never had a spring musical. We just always had plays. And then I would do the announcements in the morning. Occasionally would sort of write humorous announcements. And in 10th grade, I think, Leroy Walters, God rest his soul, appointed somebody as the newscaster. Every semester was I don't know if Western Civ or what the class was, but something that he thought current events should be a part of. And so every morning I'd get up early and I'd listen to KMOX and sort of write down what they were saying. And then I would come in and present the news every day. So look where that led to.
Well, you had to clean up Ray Hartman's mess.
That's right. 10 years later, still a wreck.
Got a favorite concert that you've been to in St. Louis?
Not much of a concert goer. I would have to say, and this was a long time ago, I saw Harry Connick Jr. at Powell Hall. That was kind of neat. Who else? I remember. I think we saw Johnny Mathis, I think, out at Riverport, which was owned by my cousin at the time. So we got good seats.
Well, and you're a Muni guy, right?
Oh, well, yeah, sure. I mean, I don't consider that a concert.
No,
in fact,
just third question. What, if there is one, is your favorite Muni production?
Oh, well, it's probably the one that most people would say, which is 42nd Street, just because they always do such a lavish production on it. Although I must say, this past summer, they did Chicago, and it was a great production of it that hardly anybody saw because I think the first night got rained out. I went the second or third night, and then after that, they had a COVID outbreak, canceled the rest of the run. So I think they only got in about 2 or 3 performances, and so they've rescheduled. It was already rescheduled because it was supposed to be last summer of the pandemic, and they, wiped up the schedule. And so they rescheduled this year, and then had all this happen. So I believe it's on the schedule again for next year. I assume it's the same production. But
my wife saw the shows that are coming. Denny stepped down. Denny and Kofi were both on the show before, the podcast. And so now we've got new leadership, and my wife is very happy to see the shows that are coming in. Mm-hmm. Question number 4, you're from St. Louis. You encounter 10 stop signs. Paul, how many do you roll?
Well, there's one that I always roll through near my neighborhood because there's a stop sign there. And I actually did a story about this years ago. I'm trying to remember exactly the reasoning, but once you put a stop sign in, it's very hard to get them to take it out, even if it doesn't belong there. And there's one where it's, I think it's on Taylor, maybe going south, and it crosses a couple of residential streets, but the ends of the streets are blocked off by the old, what we used to call the Mayor Shamel flower pots. Okay. If you remember those big concrete barriers. So there's nothing that could cross over except maybe a pedestrian, I guess. And so sometimes I'll kind of roll through that one.
Okay. Nobody watches this, Paul, so we'll be fine.
Because they're very popular thing, and so they're very easy to get because there's what they call, I think, automatic courtesy, where if I'm from the 17th ward and I say I need a stop sign here, no one else in another ward is going to object because someday they'll need a stop sign. And then you go along.
I actually think I remember now.
It placates people. It placates people in a neighborhood, and it's easy enough to do and fairly cheap to do. And there you go.
All right. when somebody wins 30 plus Emmys, I have one question I like to ask them. And you're the first person I've ever asked this question to. What are you most proud of?
Story-wise?
Yeah.
You know, I did a story a long, long, long time ago that is my favorite story. And it wasn't one of the big, you know, like 9/11 or the Oklahoma City bombing. It wasn't the space shuttle launch. It wasn't the Super Bowl. It was this old guy down in southern Missouri whose name, or at least the name he went by, was Murray Hill, who was sort of an old retired vaudevillian who had an animal act, elephants. Even was on the Ed Sullivan show one time. We found the clip. I mean, it's legit. And through a whole long story, he ended up in this tiny little town on this farm down in southern Missouri. This guy from Brooklyn who plays the accordion, and he loves elephants. And so, in fact, they had written a book about him, and then I thought they were going to make a movie out of it. I don't know, but he actually stole some elephants from a circus that he had sold them to, and then found out they were abusing him, and he was like on the run with these elephants. But anyway, so he was going to set up this elephant sanctuary for retired circus elephants on this farm of his down in southern Missouri. I don't know where he was getting the money from, but he was going at it. He had these big, huge, concrete things dug out of the ground and then, lined with concrete that would be the areas where the elephants would live. And he already had 2 or 3 of them down there, I think, that were ones that he had at some point or another. And the guy was just colorful, and it was such an interesting story, and it's just kind of odd. And I don't know. And I was just really feeling, I thought I'd done a pretty good job reporting it. And so that was one of my favorite stories of all time, but that was like 1990, maybe. It was a long time ago. I guess what I'm probably the most famous for, hopefully maybe people have forgotten about it by now, although people at Channel 2 would never let me forget about it, was the time I got
see a llama coming our way.
I'm surprised you didn't ask. Well, there you go. So that's probably one I'm most famous for. So no one remembers the story. They just remember the incident.
If you Google reporter and llama.
They'll find it.
They'll find it. All right. As we get ready to wrap this up again, if you want to check out Paul's episode, O2 with Oliver, wherever you get your podcast. 2 last questions. And again, we had not met before this, so thanks for your time. When people come and visit you in St. Louis, where do you take them?
Oh, well, Ted Drew's, of course.
Okay.
Crown Candy. I'm very food motivated, as you can tell. The Hill. And although I haven't had anybody come to St. Louis to visit in a long time, if they did, I'd take them to show them the new museum at the Arch, which is quite spectacular. I've only been there once myself. I've been to the Arch like everybody else in St. Louis a gazillion times. But the new museum down there is quite nice.
You been to the aquarium yet?
I haven't, and
I'm telling you, man, we're here right now. Check off aquarium and then lunch at the Foundry.
Well, I had dinner at the Foundry.
Okay.
The first night it opened, but I had actually gotten hired for a job. I guess I can talk about this from the people who run that aquarium. I mean, who literally run the day-to-day operation of it. They're aquarium people. It's a company called Zoo Oceanarium Group, and their PR person locally called me. They were trying to get a contract in Dallas, and they needed something done about what the company does, a little bit about what they did here in St. Louis, and it was just something slapped together all with existing media. And so I put it together, and of course they were so nice that, oh, please, anytime you want to come down to the aquarium, just give us a call. We'd be glad to take you down there. But I've and then COVID hit and just it never got down there. But it's one of the things I want to do. I did do the Ferris wheel.
Give yourself 2.5 hours. It's not 5 hours, but you can't rush through it in 1 hour. Give yourself about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I need to get it. All
right, plug the website one time, please, sir.
PaulSchankman.com. That's SCHANKMAN.
And last,
I assume that's the website you wanted me to plug and not yours.
Yes. Last question.
Yes, sir.
What makes you proud to be a St. Louis and Paul?
Ooh. Proud to be a St. Louisan. Well, there are a lot of troubling things about St. Louis these days that make you wonder sometimes. But the arts, I would have to say, and I'm sort of an arts guy. You've probably deduced that by now, so I'm probably a little biased. But just what this town has to offer in the arts is really astounding compared to other cities the same size. In fact, I just did a video about this for the Regional Arts Commission. And their data shows that sort of pound for pound, if you will, St. Louis has twice as many arts experiences for a city its size compared to other cities the same size. Which, if you look around, you can believe it. I mean, when things are kind of at full steam and we're not in the middle of a pandemic, the number of plays going on, art exhibitions, musical performances, concerts, theater events is astounding in St. Louis.
And now, thanks to you, I'm proud that we beat the British.
We did. We did.
Keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for the time.
Thank you very much, David. Good to be with you.